So we're just going to give everyone a couple minutes to join, and then we'll get started.
Perfect.
Okay, I think just maybe 1 more minute. Okay, I think we'll get started. So welcome everyone to the discussion panel by the TMRG, the Tri-State Manufacturers Resource Group, the future of manufacturing, preparing and planning for the unknown. Okay, so this is just a brief overview of our program for today. We'll just briefly introduce the Tri-State Manufacturers Group. We'll go through introductions with each panelist, and then we'll have presentations by each panelist for about 2 minutes on their topic, kind of reflecting on the future of manufacturing, and then we'll go to the panel discussion, and we'll get questions from the audience, and each panelist we have an opportunity to answer questions that come to them. Okay. So the Tri-State Manufacturers Resource Group is a SME subject matter expert group. We're business owners and providers that specialize in helping manufacturers. And we've been a group for the last 6 years. We've been hosting events, and before COVID, we used to have events in person. And because of COVID, we've kind of moved over to having virtual events. And then next year, we're probably and hopefully going to start doing in-person events again. Those are a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. You can go to our website to learn more about the group. It's tmrg.com. Okay, so let me introduce each panelist. So Bill, he is a telecommunications and technology solutions architect. He's an expert at unified communications and collaboration. Deb is the drop-in CEO and founder of Illuminations. She's a trusted authority for guiding CEOs through operational transformation, creating confident leaders using the CEO Compass, her book, and she's a speaker and podcast host. David, that's me. I am a computer engineer whose passion is helping manufacturers and fabricators get an ROI in digitization, CAD/CAM nesting, MES, that's your operational software, ERP, and Industry 4.0. So I just decided to throw a few buzzwords in there. Jim is a 46-year-old specialist in site selection, incentive negotiation, corporate downsizing, lean quality audits, review, and implementation. Michael Martins, he's a financial advisor specializing in succession planning for business owners. He helps business owners build and execute long-term strategies. And Suresh, he's an executive director of Visium, a startup advisor and technology evaluator. Okay, so let's get started with Suresh. So Suresh will give a 2-minute overview on his topic.
Thank you, Dave, and thanks for everybody for joining us today. So this is Suresh from Visium Technologies. Visium is a tech incubator. So what we do is we help innovators to bring their dream reality. So we mainly focus on the data science as well as the AI. That's what we do. So today's topic is about Internet of Things, or IoT, and predictive maintenance. So the question is, why do we need that? So in Industry 3.0 today, it is automated, but then each of the devices are not talking to each other, and we have to really talk to each of the devices to make it happen. So with Internet of Things, everyday devices, all these devices can be interconnected, and so we can collaborate each other and continuously work at a real time. So in manufacturing, it becomes more and more relevant, mainly because the line of command itself can change. It can improve the productivity, the quality, supply chain, everything. And the key is the interoperability. So it makes it operate real time with the data collections. So today, the predictive maintenance picked up mainly because it is more relevant and easily adoptable in the space. Mainly because of the AI and the abundance of data we have today, where we are able to collect the data like heat, sound, and everything, so that the maintenance can be easily implemented. Actually, we can go beyond predictive. We can go even up to the level of prescriptive, where the machines itself can fix an ongoing basis. So that's why it is very important. Though we are not in Industry 4.0, we can easily achieve that through the data collections, interoperability today. Thank you. That's all, Dave. A quick review of what we are doing.
Well, thanks a lot, Suresh. Yeah, IoT is just, 2 minutes is not enough time to even scratch the surface, but thanks a lot. I appreciate the effort. So let's move on to Michael Martins and his presentation.
Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Appreciate it. Look forward to getting back to those days when we can meet in person. As a financial advisor, work very closely with business succession planning. That's what kind of separates myself from a lot of other folks in our business. 3 areas I work with business owners. One is talking about succession planning, valuing your business for the future, attracting and retaining key employees, and rewarding performance and wealth using business knowledge. For today's thing, I just want to touch on attracting and retaining key people. I saw everybody saw in the paper recently, there was a record 4.4 million workers quit in September in the U.S. labor market. That's unbelievable and surpasses anything in the past. Why? A number of things, from how people are treated. If you want to retain, grow, and attract talent, employee benefits are a key to it today. Things like HSA, retirement plans, supplemental medical, and life insurance policies. Today, many workers are depending on those as to help with their health insurance to supplement that. Retirement plans, looking at quarterly performance reviews rather than yearly. A roadmap to achieve promotions. That was one of the things that I see highlighted in so many of the surveys today is employees want a vision. They want to know what the vision is. They also want to know where they can go to and what openings may be for themselves. Roadmap to achieve promotions. Financial and retirement plan education. This is a huge one, especially for those folks getting close to retirement. Employee-owned life insurance policies as both as a supplement and also as an incentive to keep people, to keep them. And today, with long-term care, being able to carve out individuals and be able to offer that to employees and to key folks. So many of those areas we like to cover. We'd love to sit down and talk about those with people in the manufacturing arena. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Michael. And for the future of manufacturing, I know it's getting harder and harder to get and keep talent. So being innovative and come up with different options, I know it's what's going to take to get the best talent and be competitive. Okay, so thanks for sharing that. Okay, and on to Jim.
Well, thank you. And again, to all the participants, welcome. My discussion is on lean and quality and the impact on Industry 4.0. A lot of people don't quite understand what you need to know to enter into Industry 4.0 or get the process started. Industry 4.0 is a combination of things, but you need to understand that without a base, it's hard to implement. And that's what these 5 questions really start the process of doing. By answering these, and depending on what the answer is, you have to understand that you may not have indeed a quality or lean program process in place. For Industry 4.0 to be successful, you have to have that as your basic bottom line. So understanding all these critical questions is critical. And if you don't have these in place, then you're really not ready to start an Industry 4.0 process. If you have too much rework, or if you have a fix-it mentality, as number 2 says, that's not really a good plan of action. What needs to go out the door is completely done and done right to specs. And so the fact that you have to have a fix-it or a huge field service or dealer organization, that can be a negative to the overall impact. Is management involved? Are they giving all the workers the information they need to produce the product that needs to go out the door? That's a critical piece, because empowerment is what it's all about to get you on track in Industry 4.0. I'll open it up for questions later on, and we can get into more of the weeds.
Great stuff, Jim. And I think a lot of times people, when you're thinking Industry 4.0, you think about technology and they forget that you have to have good processes. You have to always remember quality, and you have to have people, and there's management in place. You can't forget all those pieces. And I think that's a really good perspective that you have on kind of when you're thinking about the future and all this new technology, you have to keep that in mind. So thanks a lot for sharing that. And next, Deb.
So thank you, everybody, for the attendees, as well as the rest of the TMRG group. And while I will start that I have a lot of operational and manufacturing experience, most significantly and lately in the flavors and fragrance, I have a lot of expertise in quality and OpEx. None of that is really meaningful unless you build a sustainable foundation. So I'm piggybacking on what Jim said. So if we could go to the next slide. One thing I have found that is so necessary for sustaining the factory of your future is check in with yourself. If you have plans in place to expand your business, go through some kind of transformation, new customer requirements, expansion or contraction, yes, we can lay out a plan, and in most cases, you can be successful. But what I have found is when we're focused only on technology, only on the process, and we don't invest in the capability and capacity of your people, you destabilize the foundation. And I know this, I have lived through this. So one of the things that I propose to you is, while you do have to focus on getting the results, the revenue, the manufacturing expenses, et cetera, one thing you might want to check in with yourself, if you have a feeling like your people may not be able to sustain those gains, ask yourself, do I have subject matter experts in my business that I've elevated, but I haven't provided them the essential skills they need to be the leaders and to go through that transformation with you? And if that is in your current state, think about the trickle-down effect, the impact on the people that they lead. They also see this, and ultimately you go into rework, retraining, and ultimately people leave your company as an expense. So I propose to you that you think about leading indicators about how you're evolving the essential skills with your people as an integrated approach as you move towards the factory of the future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Deb. Yes, sustainability, and there's so many different takes on that, right? So it's such an interesting topic, and thanks for that introduction. And we'll definitely have a deeper dive as we get questions from the audience. Okay, so So my name is David Yoha. You know, like I mentioned earlier, I'm an engineer. My background is really trying to help companies using technology. And first thing is, what's a smart factory? So I always like to just kind of start that, and Suresh did a really good job of touching on it. But a smart factory, just in my mind, is all your systems are interconnected, interoperable. You can get information in real time. People get the information they need when they need it. Now, how is this relevant to the workforce? The way I look at things is there's two types of automations. There's physical automation, that's your machine tools, cutting metal, storage, moving things in and out. And then there's process automation, you know, not, and simplest is just not typing stuff, printing out paper, moving it around. And one of the things that you'll find is there's a lot of wasted effort, wasted work in those two places. And you know, companies are still doing really well. They're still successful even with those things in place. But what they do is they end up throwing people and time to solve the problems. The challenge now in manufacturing is there's a worker shortage. People are retiring. There's not a good pipeline of new workers coming into manufacturing, and that's really where things are looking into the future. There's going to be a lot less people who don't want to work in manufacturing, doing like the physical labor, the dirty work and things like that. And then the other thing that you find even on the front office is there's a lot of time and effort wasted just searching for stuff. I mean, research has shown like almost 2 hours a day spent just answering questions, going on the shop floor. Where's this part? What's the status of this order and things like that. So starting to look at things in terms of like, how can we get more efficient? How can we do more with less? Is where the smart factory comes in, which is a combination of physical automation and process automation. And we'll be able to deep dive into that as I get some questions that come in. Okay, and then on to the next person on our panel, Bill.
Thanks, David, and welcome all. Thank you for the opportunity. Advanced communications. A lot of people think, when they think of communications and technology, they think the old soup can and string, but instead it's really integrating all the technologies together. And when communication needs to occur in real time, you don't want an email to alert you that a line is down, that the IED has been pulled off the wall to save somebody's life. You want to be called, texted, or communicated immediately to address that. So what the new technology can deliver is everything from unique paging, where if a fire alarm's pulled, every paging speaker will redirect you away from the fire and out of your plant. If virtually anything occurs, whether it be tornado or any life safety threat, alerts are appropriate for that, and your team is directed accordingly. Or if there's also just unique issues going on, perhaps it's a hazardous waste spill, or perhaps it's a key manufacturing component that is either overheating or maybe excessive vibration, which is indication something bad is about to happen. How do we resolve it ahead of time? And you don't want to wait for it to show up in your email. You want to be notified immediately. And that's what the advanced communications can do, is that immediate real-time communication, as well as even do a conference call in reverse. So if there is an issue, perhaps instead of everybody calling in to meet on a conference call, the conference call calls all the people that need to be on the call and connects them so that decisions can be made immediately, not in a week or two. Thanks, David.
Awesome, Bill. This is pretty good technology for the future. I mean, it's as plants start to adopt this, you get more efficient. The buildings are safer. It's really, this is exciting technology. Okay, so those were the brief introductions from everyone. Now let's get to the questions. So I'm going to go look through the chat and see what questions have come through. And the first one is going to go to Bill. So Bill, why does an organization need advanced communications? And you might be muted.
I'm not, might be, I am. Thanks. So The advanced communications lets you prepare for the future. If this happens, then do what? You know, nobody anticipated at the FedEx facility in Indianapolis to show up and start shooting other employees. But once it's known, then what? How do we keep our people safe? And if 911 is dialed from someplace, wouldn't it be nice for the folks in the security team to know that 911 was dialed? If there is a hazardous waste spill, if there is a whatever might occur day in, day out, maybe a key employee just calls off. Wouldn't the plant manager or supervisor for that shift like to get notified as soon as that employee called off so that somebody new can be backfilled so you don't shut down a line due to no-shows? And I will turn it back to others.
Okay, so let me look for the next question. Okay, this one goes to Deb. So Deb, where have you seen leaders develop their next level leadership? Is it and has it been well done?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, you know, one of the things I talk about and see in growing organizations is we have amazing subject matter experts and we let them be subject matter experts. I had a particular food safety professional, and I'll say that I think this was done well. They did their craft really well, but nobody gave them feedback. Nobody thought that they could ever be a global leader until I saw the qualities in them. We helped develop this individual's essential skills in when you speak, stand, because we found that his presence brought people in to listen to him and engage with them. And then in every time that he interacted with people, taking a subject matter expertise, making sure that that person stood so that their message was more impactful. Leaders need to give a little bit of feedback to their subject matter experts, because I'll tell you what happened with this person. They used to be thought as simply a subject matter expert in a particular region. They were then sought out as a global expert later on because their presence was known. That's where we do it well, when we spend the time giving the feedback to our people, watch them grow. Subject matter experts become major influencers.
Okay, thanks, Deb. And please keep the questions coming. If you post your questions to the chat, and I'll read them as they come in, and share them with our team. Okay, so the next question goes to Suresh. So Suresh, why is IoT relevant for predictive maintenance? You are muted.
The IoT is so relevant today is mainly because that's a key to the Industry 4.0, where all the devices or every device that we see in an industry is connected, interconnected. So the interoperability is a key for that. So in that instance, predictive maintenance is one of the major instances where it can be easily implemented, probably before even we go to 4.0 at the full level, mainly because we can easily collect the data with sensors about the vibration, the heat, and many factors. And with the help of AI, we can do the predictive maintenance much ahead of time. Means the downtime will be much low, so it will save cost as well as manpower. And it can even go to the next level where we can even guide missions to fix certain things by itself. So we can even go beyond even predictive maintenance, mainly because of the easy way of collection of data that is possible even today, and with the AI. Thank you, David. Any other question? Let me know.
Okay, thanks, Suresh. And the next one is for Michael. Michael, my supervisors say that they are not satisfied with their own performance. What can I do to change that? It's a pretty tough question.
And its feedback is critical to it. We see that also is employees of the 5 things that they say is a lack of company vision, but it's also lack of return, understanding where they're at, where their performance is, and sitting down with them. Employees want to know that you care, and you care through that constant feedback and understanding to avoid this great resignation, which has just happened over the last few months.
Okay. Let me see. And then the next one goes to me. And basically the question is this new technology basically taking people's jobs? And the short answer is no. These are most of these jobs are jobs are dull, the 3Ds, right? Dull, dangerous, and dirty. And the other problem is there's just not enough people to do the jobs even when they wanted the jobs. And these jobs are non-value added. People don't enjoy doing the work. So really what's happening is these are jobs that are being phased out anyway, but you're using technology to do it in a much more efficient way. So, and then most people I talk to, most industry experts you ask, and most people have never seen a job loss because of technology. People don't want to lose the talent that they have. You get repurposed. You learn a new skill. You move from one position where you're just picking up metal every day, and then you can move into some place where maybe you're not programming machines. You're running a laser while you're running a press brake and things like that. So, moving over to the smart factory perspective, where processes are being automated, you're not having to type stuff in, you're not dealing with paper, clipboards, travelers. All those things are just saving a lot of time, making the companies more profitable, which circles around where the companies are more profitable, so they keep their employees. It's a really nice cycle that we've seen. Okay. Let me see. And then the next question goes to Jim. So if you're interested in implementing Industry 4.0, I guess what are some of the things that I would need to know about quality?
Yeah. What you need to know is that quality has to become the base off of which all your Industry 4.0 builds. And that includes understanding the little nuances as to how you run your business. What are the impacts that are coming from different directions, whether it's sales, maintenance, whether it's upstream, downstream from your own industry, from the suppliers and buyers that you're looking at. Have you done the research? Have you done all the base things before you try to implement Industry 4.0? I typically use a 14-step process. And again, I say it's a process, not a product, not a program. It's a process, understanding that, because a lot of the things that we're talking about here with Industry 4.0 include a lot of programs, okay? And there's a difference between programs and processes. Processes become your basic way of operations. It's how you conduct your business. The programs help you identify what needs to be followed up on, what needs to be changed, and how you use that data is a critical piece of that. And so that's one thing you need to understand about quality. Quality is not a program. It's not. It's a concept. It's a holistic approach to how you operate your business. Then you can add the programs and the other processes in place to support that. So that's one of the first things to truly understand about quality, is that it's not things you can buy off the shelf like Six Sigma and some of the other things that are out there.
Okay, thanks, Jim. And yeah, please, any questions that come to mind, anything that spurs your mind, just please type the questions in the chat. We're very excited to answer questions as they come. So the next one goes to Suresh. And so Suresh, what is the need for IoT? I guess, why is it needed at all?
Oh yeah, mainly because if you look at today, if you want to work with a device, we have to individually work with the devices. Though we are in Industry 3.4, where we automated the process within that, the devices are not connected. I mean, interconnection is not possible. So the interconnectivity is very important to save time, efficiency, and even the cost. So that's why the Internet of Things is so relevant today, even before we go to the full smart industry space. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Suresh. And the next question goes to Deb. So Deb, where have you seen leadership development not done well, and what was the impact?
Yeah, so thank you for that. And, yeah, it wasn't done well, but I think everybody has had minor failures from which we can learn. So I had a particular client we worked with to get them ISO certified. ISO is a quality management system, very important to Jim's work as well. And while on paper we looked like we had everything dotted and T's crossed, when it came to the end of the day, we got a minor nonconformance. And the failure was that we failed to complete one preventive maintenance record. And when we got to the root cause of this, there were higher priorities, and the behavior of the leadership in that area was I had to get the order out. Volume is increasing, and the culture celebrated that behavior. So we had a conflict between the behaviors of the past that they were celebrated to get the jobs out the door as we grew our business, which was imperative, versus the new requirement, the sustainability of our business of doing preventive maintenance on our equipment, because what happens when we don't? The equipment breaks and then we have downtime and we impact our customers. That's not very sustainable. So my proposal, what we realized was we did not establish guidelines, critical thinking, and good decision logic that yes, we need to serve our customers, but we also need to serve the equipment and abide by those systems. So that's maybe an oops. It's not necessarily a failure, but if that's something that's plaguing you as you grow and things change, think about, do we have conflicting priorities that maybe enable people to make the wrong decisions? Think about it.
Very good points. Let me, the next question goes to me. So what is the best software to use for, for us, for a smart factory? It's really, I get that question a lot. Like it's less about which software you use, because software is just a tool, whether you buy it off the shelf, whether you design your own custom software, or you get something that allows you to be custom, to customize for your needs. The real thing is a lot of what Jim and Deb are discussing, which is figuring out your internal processes, what your goals are, and then finding the software solution that can align with that. Some key things you might want to think about when you're doing like software selection is making sure that it's end-to-end, meaning it can handle everything from your front office to the operations to your engineering level. That's one thing. So if you have something that can encompass everything, then you don't have to worry about a lot of integrations and interoperability issues. You have to make sure that the software is geared towards your industry, if at all possible. So if you're in the shoe industry, you want to make sure you get software that works well there. If it's in the industry I'm in, which is metal fabrication, if you're in the metal fabrication industry, probably a good idea to work with software that's in that space. So you're not spending half the conversation explaining all the nuances to the industry that you're in. And then you also want software that lets you, what I say, crawl, walk, run. So you want to be able to start slow, get some quick victories, some successes, and then add more, go to the next level. And so something that's very modular, something that plays well with others, because even though if you can't find a piece of software that does everything you need, which is pretty tough, you want to make sure that the software allows you to integrate with other systems. So if you are looking, you don't want something that ends up being a brand new silo after you purchase it, and then the only way you can get information from one system to the other is by typing it or email it, and someone else has to get it in, or some other workaround. So those are like just big picture as far as if you're trying to figure out what software to use. Those are some initial tips that can at least get you on the right path. Okay, so let me see. The next question goes to Bill. So Bill, what issues does advanced communication solve?
Oh, excellent. Thanks, David. First off, I'd like to point out that the advanced communications is an overlay to Suresh's Internet of Things. The Internet of Things allows sensors to be very inexpensive and virtually everything to now be on the internet. Which then means are on your data network, doesn't have to be on the internet. And now everything can communicate with each other. And then the way these devices communicate with each other needs to then be translated so that people know something is going on. What should I do? Let's say your factory is downsized. You no longer have the guard at the guard shack anymore. Trucks now just roll up. Well, with new technology in cameras, the camera can alert and say, hey, there's now a truck pulling up to the dock. Now you can automatically be notified, hey, there's a truck at the dock. Do I want that notification to be a overhead page? Do I want it to be a phone call to the shipping and receiving team, or do I want it to be something else? Meanwhile, it's also talking to David's smart factory and everything that's going on in the smart factory, from material coming in and orders being placed, to, if this occurs, is it important enough to escalate to communicate to others? And the way people communicate is very different than the way technology necessarily talks to each other. So we have this overlay that then does that translation and provides the information. So from life safety to enhanced processes, and then keeping everybody on the same page, is just truly the basis and kind of where you start to deliver the advanced communications.
Well, thanks for that, Bill. And it was occurring to me as I'm listening to everyone answer the questions coming from the audience, that it's even though we're talking about things coming in the future and preparing, it still always comes down to people, processes, and technology. You can't ever escape that. So that was something else that occurred to me as we're going through this conversation. So the next question goes to Jim. So Jim, why would you need lean and quality if you're establishing an Industry 4.0 process? Like if we're doing the implementation, why do we need that?
Great question. The basic parameters, excuse me, the basic parameters of that is that, again, I go back to the base. You have to have the good communications that Bill's talking about. You've got to have the right management mindset that Deb has talked about. And then you've got to add to that the technology sides of it, so that you understand what your processes are doing. The lean quality helps you through that process. First, it brings management in at the appropriate level, which is at the top level. Then you start working your way down the process to your floor management and your floor workers. The process that you need to understand is you have to make sure everyone is trained appropriately, and even possibly cross-trained, for this to work. Industry 4.0 is a connectivity issue across all lines of the business. But your people need to understand how that integrates to what they're doing specifically on the line, and how they can impact what happens on the line should there be a problem. And so, as Bill says, it connects all your machines, all your communication systems, all your departments together, so that they are able to follow what each one is doing. But again, unless you know the process and why this is important, all this other data you're getting is not going to be any good, because no one knows what to do with it once they get it. And so that's why the lean quality process has to be implemented first. And the other reason is because if it's not, you don't know what you specifically need as far as programs, software, machinery in certain cases, to make the product and get it out the door in an efficient manner. So that's, to me, why you need to understand lean quality, so that as you're going down these steps to create a better efficiency within your facility, that you have all the things in place that need to support all these activities. So that's how I see it, and that's what we try to work with.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Jim. And next question goes to Michael. Michael, I have promoted people to a supervisor position, but they don't have the same success as they had as a worker. Are we promoting the wrong people?
Promoting necessarily the wrong people, but it's interesting. About studies have been done. About 60% of frontline leaders say they want more formal training and professional coaching. They're not getting that. And that's sad. Only 12% of frontline leaders believe their organization invests in their development. This is huge. You've got to help them to be successful. There needs to be a process. There needs to be understanding of where I need to get to. Because the sad part is 60% of new managers fail within 24 months, and you've wasted possibly a good person because of lack of training, lack of leadership. And it's sad, 75% of people end up quitting their job because of their manager, not because of their job. So give them the tools to be successful, and they will be successful.
Okay, thanks a lot. Let me see. So next question. Suresh. So Suresh, what is IoT?
Oh, the Internet of Things, IoT, is nothing but the connectivity between devices. That means the connecting everyday devices on internet and collaborate continuously at a real time. So in terms of manufacturing, it is connecting all the machineries, everything together so that the data can be shared real time, and then collaborate and take the decisions right away. So what it helps in an industry is the line of command itself will change, in the sense that even for example, a supply chain can be monitored at a real time. We can even do some of the re-engineering real time when it is happening. So because the data is shared on at real time, that is what Internet of Things is doing. Means everything is connected through the internet, and so we are able to share the data real time and collaborate it. That's what it is.
Okay, thank you. And I think I'll the last set of questions, I'll group them together. So Bill, what steps are required to migrate to advanced communications?
Oh, excellent, David. Thanks for the question. You can start anywhere. So even if you have that tin can and string, doesn't mean you have to throw that away. It's more looking at all of the different areas and ways that communication can occur, and what's important to each organization, and what's currently in place, what can be overlaid to reuse as much, if not everything, that's already been, all of the different communications that has already been invested in. So it's not hey, you have to start over and throw everything away. It's more, let's stair step into it and leverage what's already been invested in, and then let's just take it to the next level. And it's funny, as I've continued to hear everybody, it's if you remove the most talented people, everything falls apart. You remove all of the technology, all of a sudden you're decades behind your competition. If you remove talented leadership and the processes, everything's going to collapse. And it's all of these things just continuing to work together to take us to that next level, so we can compete in a better fashion without breaking the bank, so we can deliver for our customers in an excellent manner without sacrificing employee and experience. So anyways, back to my question, it was more about just stair stepping into it rather than, hey, I've got to throw everything away and start over again. Let's leverage what's already been invested in and move forward from there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And even knowing that that's possible, right? So making sure you get to the right person who can do a good evaluation of your systems, and then figure out what can be kept and what has to be gotten rid of, if anything, right? So that makes total sense. And that kind of ties into the question that goes to me, is that what's the biggest challenges to getting new systems adopted? And it typically comes down to people. Like it's the most interesting thing, because I'm an engineer, and a lot of things to me are pretty black and white. It's like, it's a better system, use a better system. But you find, and I've found over the years, that people don't like change. even if it's something that you can show will improve how they do things, they still feel more comfortable with the things that they've been using for the last year, last 5 years. And a lot of times it's, we found is a lot, they get systems that are forced on them, told them that their work process would improve, their lives would get better, and then that, and that doesn't happen. So they've gone through, so you have like where people don't like change, but the other is people don't believe that the change will help. So, the biggest challenge I would say is again, buy-in, all the way from management to the people that are going to be using the system. Making sure that everyone gets to say, people are pulled in and you understand what their work process is at, or what they actually are, not what someone else thinks they are. Get all that information so that when you're discussing solutions, it's actually helping everyone. One of the cliches I use, one of the things that my favorite statements to people is, if the software solution is not at least keeping things where they are, then that's a bad solution. So, if we're switching from solution A to solution B should at least be better. If it's not better, then you should, why are we having that conversation, right? So, and sometimes there's the this will help everyone, but you have to take a bullet for the team, and that usually doesn't go over too well. So biggest challenges that I found is getting people to adopt change. Okay, so kind of moving right along because we're coming to the end of the hour. The next question goes to Michael. Michael, my turnover rate of employees is high. What can I do to improve that?
One of the things besides showing employees that you care is the benefits that you can offer. In many cases, these benefits don't even cost the employer anything up front. Having employee benefits like life insurance, and today with healthcare the way it is, having supplemental healthcare coverages to employees is huge. You've got an awful lot of people retiring, so having special programs for those nearing retirement in terms of what do they do with their 401k, how do they move towards retirement. That advanced planning for those people retiring is desperately needed. And the other thing is a lot of employers are saying, I can't keep people there. They're not eligible for their 401k. They can have it automatically begin their 401k. They have to opt out versus having to opt in. This is a huge thing that we find. It helps to keep employees employed, stay there much longer, and they tend to stay in the programs much longer. So there's a lot of things they can do, some of which cost employers money, and many of which does not cost employers money.
Okay, thanks a lot. And actually just noticed I've been on the wrong side the whole time, but I think we'll survive that. Okay, so the next question, and so we have just 2 more questions, and they're going to Jim and Deb. So Deb, I'll start with you, and if you want to take a little bit extra time, if it makes sense, you can. So what systems do you have in place to understand the leadership capability and build a support system to evolve them?
So that's a great question. And again, I see a common theme going on here. It's the connectivity, because whether we're implementing, a program around the Internet of Things, or a technology to provide us an alert system, or even the processes for Industry 4.0, there is always a connection between the process, the technology, and the human. And so again, I advocate, we need an integrated program by which the humans can be successful. And one of the most important questions that was asked of me once, perhaps late in the game, was, do you have everything you need to be successful? And I don't think we ask our people those questions. So when you do have your one-on-ones, and if you're not having one-on-ones with your people as an integrated part of your management system, I propose to you start with the personal development, because if you have a purpose, we're going to be Industry 4.0, we're going to put in this new technology to make us more efficient or error-proof our systems, you have to ask the individual the connectivity of their own role to that purpose and identify any gaps in their capability or capacity to do the work, start there, and then make sure, second, they're aligned with the strategy. Do they understand their role, and what is the strategic work they need to do in order to be aligned with that? And then finally, maybe you get to the tactical work. So make sure you have a structured approach to ask the right questions of the people as you move forward into the future. But really important, what do you need to be successful? I think that's the biggest takeaway, to make sure that they can identify to you where may they not be connected with the overall organization. Back to you, Dave.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. And so the final question goes to Jim. So Jim, what do you need to know about Industry 4.0 to be successful?
Well, there are a number of things you need to know about that. One in the critical piece is, what do you want to accomplish by going into Industry 4.0? You may have your operation, you may be successful right now, but what is the ultimate outcome by going down through these steps? And I think that's a critical question, that if you're going to adopt Industry 4.0, advanced manufacturing, what's your end goal supposed to be? Once you identify that, then that will create a whole series of questions that you need to address as you're implementing the 4.0 process. And again, I go back to quality lean. Getting all your people on the same page is going to be a critical piece. And whether it's training, whether it's asking the great question that Deb just talked about, what do you see as the benefit of going down this road? Again, communications is another critical piece you have to have in place, and a system that allows cross departments. Too many times I've seen one department doesn't know what the other department is doing because they don't know how to communicate, or they don't communicate. And it's similar with sales and marketing. Sales and marketing are two different things. But if they integrate and they work together, now that success rate will go up even higher. It goes back to personnel and the equipment. You can hire all the people you want, but if you don't train them appropriately, you're building to a disaster. So understanding what you want to accomplish, I think, is critical to this, and then setting your scope of activity in each of the departments and let them percolate that down to the floor and then percolate back up to management. It's got to be going both directions, because what a lot of companies don't realize, it's not management that makes the product. That product is made at the floor level. And so if you have the right communications and the right expectations and the right systems in place and the right programs and software in place, it's going to be successful. If you don't, if you have a break in any of those items, that's where the lean quality comes into play, identifying where those root causes are and eliminating those problems. And the more you eliminate over time, the more efficient, the more buy-in you're going to have by your workforce, the more buy-in you're going to have by your management, and your shareholders are going to love it because profitability will go out the roof. So Industry 4.0, I think you need to understand that. The other one small item, it's not small, is understanding your connectivity. The connectivity can be a problem if you have wrong firewalls up. All this data that you're generating from your machines, from your processes, et cetera, it goes someplace. Does it go to the cloud? Does it go to a server? Where does it go before it comes back to you? And if you don't have the right security in place, guess what? You could have some major problems, and it's through no fault of anyone other than not watching the system and making sure all your safeguards are in place. Again, I go back to understanding how the data is to be used, how you train people, so that those issues don't happen.
Awesome, Jim. And we actually got one final question come in. And I think this is something that everyone can answer. I think think of a one sentence answer to this, because we have basically less than 5 minutes. So, and the question is, where does a manufacturer start this process? So, and I would say it's, the process of maybe planning for the future from each of our perspectives. So I'm just going to go down the list. I'll start with Bill. Just one simple answer. Where does the manufacturer start this process?
Conversation. Reach out. Let's have a conversation and see, where do you want to get to and what will it take to get you there? Other than some time, there's no cost to initiate a conversation.
Okay. And I'll take a stab at it. At our company, and then this is pretty standard tool, it's called a digital maturity process. And basically it's just figuring out where you are today, because as you know, even with like Google Maps or any MapQuest, to get somewhere, you have to know where you are. So digital maturity process does an evaluation, figures out where you are now, and you can figure out what your next step is from there. Deb?
To piggyback on this, I have a same maturity thing. Ask yourself some deep questions on my crisis scale. If you're in crisis and you're about ready to maybe lose customers, that's definitely worth reaching out. If you are in chaos, meaning daily firefighting, or things just don't feel right and you can't trust your people to be able to execute as you grow, that's really worth a call. If you're under control and things are okay, still, if you're forward thinking and you know where you want to go and your gut tells you you don't necessarily have everybody lockstep and communicating, reach out. So would love to have a conversation with I and my colleagues to help you get started.
Okay, perfect. Jim?
Well, I may sound like a broken record, but I always start at lean and quality. If I have that understanding in place, I can proceed down the road and do the connectivity, do the communications, do all these things. But I've got to have that process, that baseline process in place for this all to be successful and to be profitable in the process.
Okay, Michael?
Having a very clear company vision, communicating that vision, as Jim say, up and downward, share successes, share goals, share issues, ways to resolve them, get everybody supporting that. Importantly, share those opinions, and that's going to be the company vision. It starts at the top and finishes at the bottom. So that's a real starting out point.
Okay, and finally, Suresh?
Thank you, Dave. I will stick to the technology side. I mean, the main 4 areas that we should focus is the standardization of the interfaces. And, that is very critical for going into 4.0, as well as the security and privacy, because we are going into, sensitive data is being transferred. Then the infrastructure, how we are going to really, support greater influx of data and how to handle that. And the last, but the important thing is the analytics, where how do we convert this data into precise and actionable insights. And those are the 4 major areas that we need to focus before we get into IoT and 4.0. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thanks a lot to everyone who attended. Thanks to our panelists for spending the last hour giving their insights from their experience. I will be sending out the slide deck in the next day or so. It will have all our contact information. So if you need further information, please reach out to any panelists and we'll be happy to help answer any questions that you have. Thanks and have a great day, everyone.